Today is 1/23/21. That is 1/23/21. That is a Saturday morning. It is nice to have you guys back on a Saturday morning. I want to say thank you for every time you hit the like button. I want to say thank you for all the people that have subscribed. And I'm even thanking the Lord for all the new people that will come in the name of Jesus. So today, you can make it through Jesus by speaking life over your life. You can make it through Jesus by speaking life over your life. Now, there's a couple things that I want to go ahead and get out before I forget. Guys, please lift up Bishop Bellamy, Miss Libby, and Neil, which is Bishop Bellamy's son. Lift them up in prayer. They've been fighting, or I think it was Bishop Bellamy's been fighting, I think with the COVID. So keep him lifted up in prayer, if I'm correct, or, the COVID's around. So we don't want anything to happen to him or their family. So we want to keep Bishop Bellamy, Miss Libby, and Neil lifted up in prayer. So whenever they come to mind today, if you would just take a moment to lift them up in prayer, ask the Lord to send them whatever healing they may need or whatever they may need from him. The more prayers that we can send up on their behalf, we believe by faith that the Lord will loosen more angels for them to help them get through what they're going through. So throughout this day and throughout the next couple of days, if they come to mind, just lift them up in prayer. All right. So let's go ahead and get ready to get into this lesson today. So what I sometimes like to do is in the Bible, I would like to see how others have shaped their life, how others have fixed their life. And I like to take from their examples and I like to put into practice the very things that I've seen being done in the Bible in a good way. So I'm going to leave you guys a couple nuggets of things that I found that maybe can help you. And there was two things that I found recently that the Lord gave me a lesson on that has helped me with my children, basically with my children. And let me show you how he's helped me with them. And let me show you what I mean. Now, we know in Proverbs 18:21, it says, life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? And it also says you're going to eat the fruit of whatever one you put out. Well, I looked at that, and then I looked at King David, and I looked at how he treated King Solomon, and I looked at the results. So I'm trying to put into practice the same thing that King David did to King Solomon. And what did King David do for King Solomon? When you get a chance, I'm just going to list the scriptures off, but you go ahead and read them when you get a chance, okay? 1 Kings 2:6. And David said, according to your wisdom. So David was speaking life to Solomon even before Solomon even asked for wisdom. So that's in 1 Kings 2:6. David said, according to your wisdom. Now, 1 Kings 2:9, David says again, you are a man of wisdom. So I see that David is programming in his son what is important of what he has learned over life. One of the most important things that he had learned was wisdom. So what is he going to do? He's going to try to program that in his son. So then let's go to 1 Kings 3. Let's go to 1 Kings 3. 1 Kings 3 and 5. We're going to go 1 Kings 3 and 5, and you're going to have to read a lot of it, and then 9 through 14. You're going to have to read it on your own time, but I want you to see something that I thought was very key, okay? 1 Kings 3, and we look at verse 5. Okay, now, actually, no, let's go to verse 5. At Gilgal, the Lord appeared to Solomon during the night in a vision, and God said, ask whatever you want me to give you. Ask for whatever you want me to give you. So the Lord appeared to Solomon in the vision, as you see here in verse 5, 1 Kings 3 and 5. Ask whatever you wish, and I will give it to you. Pretty much a blank check, homie. You got a blank check. What do you want? But his dad had did something very wise. He started programming in his son what was important from what he had read in the scriptures. Well, I don't know if he had scriptures, but I mean from what he had learned from the Lord. He learned what was important, wisdom. So what did he start doing? He started programming Remember? Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Every one of us has programming. I don't care what any one of y'all say. We've been programmed by our parents. We've been programmed by society. We've been shaped by things we see. So David just programmed in Solomon about wisdom. And then when God came and said, what do you want? Look at the one thing that Solomon asked. And you can pick that up in verse 9. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people. David programmed it in him. The biggest moment in history that he has to get whatever he wants, what's the one thing he asked for? Wisdom. And look at what wisdom brought him. See, if you can learn to ask for the right things, if you can learn to focus on the right things, those right things will bring you what you ultimately want anyways. If you read, the Lord said, I'm so proud that you did not ask for money. You did not ask for the death of your enemies. And if you keep reading, the Lord said, I'm so proud you didn't ask for any of these things. But if it's riches, if it's honor, if it's wealth, if that's what you want, because you cared about me and what was important to me, I'm going to go ahead and give you what you didn't ask for. But David programmed that in him, in my opinion, to get him to ask for something very important. So as being parents, it's our job to program in our children. But remember, when we're doing it, we have to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Can you get your children to see the Lord by being wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, where they don't even know what you're doing? They're just loving it. Okay, so that was one example that I saw. So I'm going to extract that from David. Remember, take all his goods and leave his bads. So I'm going to extract that from David, and I'm going to try to do the same thing to my children, if that makes sense. Okay, here's another key point that I believe he showed me that I want to apply as well. Let's go to Genesis 18 and 19. Genesis 18 and 19. And does anyone know why God made a choice to pick Abraham? Does anyone know why God picked him? Well, I'm going to show you in scriptures from what I see the great king said why. Okay, and we're going to go to Genesis 18 and 19. Genesis 18 and 19. Check it out as I get there. For I have chosen him, which is Abraham, so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just, so that the Lord will bring about for Abraham what he has promised him. So God said, I chose him. Why did I choose him? Because I knew that he would direct his children after me and he would direct his household to love me. So I picked Abraham because I knew he would do that. Let's see how well Abraham did with that. Okay, so that's 18. Now we're looking at chapter 22. Chapter 22. Okay, so as we go to Genesis 22, you know the story. God tested Abraham. He wanted him to sacrifice his son, and he wanted him to take him and sacrifice him. So the next day, he got up to go do that. It was like a 3-day journey, I think it was. So I believe that why was that journey a good amount of time? Because I believe that God was working with Abraham. I believe that it was not that God wanted Abraham to sacrifice the boy. What God really wanted from Abraham was, see, I gave him to you, Abraham. And remember this, nothing can come before me. You can worship nothing before me. And since you've wanted this child for so long, you have let the child take my place. And what I mean, my place in your heart. Nothing can come before me. I gave you him. Don't put him before me. So God said, go sacrifice him. But during that time, I believe that God was working with Abraham's heart to not put the boy before God in his heart. That's what this all was about. God did not want him to kill the child. He wanted him to let go of the child in his heart. All right, let's keep going to my story. Now, Genesis 22, we're going to look at verse 6 through 8. Let's see if Abraham did what God wanted him to do and why God picked him. Let's check, okay? Genesis 22, 6 through 8. Abraham took the wood and placed the offering on his son's shoulders, Isaac, right? And as they were walking Isaac is carrying the fire and he's carrying the knife, right? And as they're walking, as the two of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to Father Abraham, Father, yes, my son, Abraham replied, the fire and the wood are here. Where's the sacrifice? Where's the sacrifice? So the child was smart enough to understand, I have the fire, I have the wood, but Dad, all the other times that we've done this sacrifice, where's the animal? We need the sacrifice, don't we? We have the fire and the wood. I've never seen you go and sacrifice without having something to sacrifice. Where's the sacrifice? Abraham being so smart, the Lord will provide, son. Not knowing you're the sacrifice, homie. But it really wasn't. He was a sacrifice. It was just, I wanted you to see that the child was smart enough to understand how to sacrifice. And I want to know, where did he learn it from? God said, I chose Abraham so that he would direct his children and his household after me. So now, the son got it because you see he asked, so he got it. So now let's go to his household. Genesis 24. Genesis 24. Okay, his household. Genesis 24. And then when you get a chance, in verse 2, we see that Abraham is talking to the chief servant. This is a chief servant in his household, kind of like Joseph. You can go back to Joseph in Genesis when he ran Potiphar's house. I don't know if he was a chief servant, if he was the highest, I don't know, but we can use this man to explain that story. So Abraham asked him to go get a wife for his son, right? So as you keep on reading down, and then you drop down to verse, I want to say, read the whole chapter, but dropping down to verse 10, you'll see somewhere in, 12, somewhere in there, you'll see the servant gets to the place and he starts to pray. He starts to pray and ask God to give him success, right? But now you got to ask yourself, where did the servant learn about prayer? Where did the servant learn about how to acknowledge God if Abraham probably didn't show him? Remember, he's a chief servant. So that means that he probably spent a lot of time with Abraham. So he probably picked up a lot of Abraham's qualities. And is that not why God chose him? I want your children to know about me, and I want your household to know about me. So it seems like Abraham did a great job in those areas. I can't say great. God would be the one to determine that. But for me listening, it seemed like he did a good job. I'm not going to put a level on it. I'll let God do that. But from what I see, he did a good job of teaching his son about the Lord and the people in his household about the Lord. Now I will ask you, as I get ready to let you go, in your day-to-day walk, do you speak life to the ones around you? Do you pump life into their life? Because remember, those words, life and death's in the power of the tongue. If you put them out there enough and they hear it enough, it will ring in their heads, and they will start believing what you are telling them. Bring positivity with it. Pump the positivity, especially with the ones around you. What's wrong with pumping more life into the ones around you? Now dropping down to Abraham, that was David. Great job in that area, David. Now dropping down to Abraham. Great job, Abraham, in the area that God picked you. Can we take those two examples and apply those to our life? If we can do that, I believe that we can help our children and we can help the ones around us that we love. But also, guys, let's set a great example before them. No one's perfect, but we're going to give it our all to do the best that we can with loving our God and setting that example for others around us. Be blessed on this Saturday. Do something great for God. Be a great vehicle for Him.